All right, since you guys are all here, we're just going to start waiting on Hugo to join us. But we got Joe Farrow back. It's been a while, but good morning, Joel.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm not used to Joel being the one on time and us waiting
That's
for
right.
someone else. But yeah, man, maybe quickly give us your take, I guess. You're in the lending side of things, and maybe a quick take on what do you expect, what are you seeing out there. But that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is you got people in power getting, allegations of mortgage fraud, which is interesting. You got a former Fed, Lisa Cook. You got Letitia in New York. I just think it's interesting. I mean, this stuff has been out there. Some of the data has been out there for 15, 10, 20 years. And, it's just interesting because people's lives change. You make moves. You can maybe have two different jobs and locations and things like that. But some of the dates, like I think it was like one person claiming California and then 2 weeks later claiming a Maryland address as a primary. I mean, it's just like, okay, come on now. That's a little, let's like at least have some rationale to what you're trying to do, not make it so blatant. So just some of the things that are going on now that I think are interesting. But yeah,
Yeah,
rate cuts is a big topic.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we can dig into the that allegations investigation a little bit later on, maybe when Hugo gets here, because I'm sure he has some thoughts on that. But yeah, definitely, it's been around. I'm sure a lot of people do it knowingly and unknowingly. Also, right? It's kind of just life happens and things. But for them to kind of blatantly come out and allegedly say it, right? Or so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest thing, from your lending perspective, what are you probably seeing with rates, and what do you think might be coming down the road, and how is it going to impact for a lot of people tuning in? They're probably in the real estate side of things, but how is it going to impact real estate investors out there?
If the Fed does something more than 25 basis points, I think it'll hint to more things to come. I don't think a 25 basis point cut's going to make that big of an impact short term. I don't think you're going to see much of a change in the housing market. The 10-year Treasury, when the July cuts were announced that there was going to be no cut, and then a couple of days later they revised some of the job numbers, and I think they took away like 100,000 jobs out of the data. We saw the 10-year Treasury go from like 4.4 down to 4.2, so a 0.2% reduction. My expectation was that we would continue to see the 10-year Treasury trade lower going into September, and it's actually flatlined. That was a little bit of a surprise. I kind of look at 2024, the same time frame. When you look at when the Fed cut rates in September of 2024, the day that they announced the rate cuts started the big move up on the 10-year Treasury. The 10-year Treasury got down to like 3.5 range, and then it hit 4.7, 4.8, et cetera, later in the year. Excuse me. I thought that we would see this trading down in advance happening, and maybe it continues to go down more, but so far it's kind of flatlined, and that surprised me so far. But I don't think there's going to be a major move in the markets with this. I think it's just status quo, in my opinion.
No, definitely. I think that's the one thing, right? It's not going to be market moving. I think what people are hoping for is to get more clarity on what the direction is going to be, right? Because right now everything is just so volatile. It's going back and forth. You're hearing all different information from different sides of things, right? So it's hard to navigate, I think. Quickly, I do want to just remind everyone, I'll put Joel's channel, YouTube channel also. So if you can, go quickly hop over there, go like, subscribe to his channel while he's live streaming also. But then definitely come back to this one though. But definitely go check out Joel's one. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? People just want some clarity so they can kind of have some guidance on how they're going to move, right? Is that kind of what you're seeing maybe with your clients reaching out to you? They're just kind of confused on what direction things are heading.
Well, there's two subsets that I'm seeing actively asking questions. Well, there's probably three, but I'll stick with two. So the one that is more active are my real estate investor clients. I've had some people tell me like the day that the Fed did not cut rates in July, that they were super ecstatic about that because that meant that they could continue to put offers on the table. They're seeing some sellers be more flexible on terms because you don't have that strong demand. And it's hard to make the numbers pencil out when you're talking about cash flow and cap rates and capex and all these things. So they were happy about that. Now, on the home buyer side, people looking to be able to move or looking to refinance, people they just want to see lower rates. When rates come down, I'll do X, Y, Z. When rates come down, I'll do this, and that. And so that subset, I'm having conversations. But in all reality, if the Fed does a quarter point cut, not going to make that big of a difference. Now, fast forward the clock maybe 5-6 months, and they've got 100 basis points reduced on the Fed funds rate. Maybe you start to see some actual major moves on mortgage rates. What's up, Hugo?
Yo, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
What's up, Hugo? It's been a while, man.
Yeah, man. Good to see you guys. Glad we can do
So
this.
quickly, some of my audience probably may not know who you are. It's been a while since you've been on, so maybe quickly give a 60-second spiel on who Hugo is and what Stay Winning is all about.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm the CEO, founder, host of Stay Winning Podcast and Stay Winning Wealth on every other social media. My main focus is helping people build generational wealth. I think that's why me and Mark get along, because we have that same vision, setting up the next generation for success. That we're gonna have a steep hill to climb. I talk about everything real estate, finance, business, and crypto across my social media. So feel free to reach out if you want to discuss or have questions about those topics. And I am regarding to Mark's channel. I am a real estate investor, so I do fix and flips in LA County in California. I have long-term rental in Orange County, California. And unlike Zuber says, but yes, I do cash flow in Orange County, California. I know Zuber like to say it hard out there, but yeah, I'm the exception. I do cash flow out here. And then also I have primary real estate. So the total valuation of that is about $3 million. Hopefully that could be $10 million by the end of Trump's second term.
You have to say his name, huh? Just throw it in there, Trump.
Third term?
For the algorithm. No, but yeah, it's good having you back on. It's been a while. I did throw your YouTube channel in there, so for the people that may not know who he is and haven't done it yet, please go subscribe to his channel also. But yeah, right now we're kind of Joel's been leading us off talking about with rates and what he's seeing out there, the clients he's working with. But do you have any thoughts on what direction rates may be heading, or has it impacted your real estate or just your investing side in general?
You know what? So we know we had the most expensive real estate market, right? 2022 to 2024. Now we got the rates the lowest since October 2024. But yeah, honestly, I was a little concerned with this fix and flip. So it was a $1.5 million property. And then getting the permits through LA County is a little tough versus getting permits in Orange County. So I just took the first offer that came along, man. Luckily, it only sat there in 6 days. And the first offer came into what I was the lowest willing to go. So that worked out. But yeah, I was getting a little concerned because I expected interest rate cuts a lot earlier this year. But hopefully we're looking at a brighter 2026, and I think that will be the case when it comes to affordability, not just because of possible rate cuts coming up, right? So hopefully within the next 90 days or before year end, all the tariff situation is settled, and then the Fed doesn't work against us and cut some rates out. So we have that. I know they're looking at 50 million visas, HB1 visas right now, to see if there's any cost for deportation. If that's the case, I mean, that's a lot of housing that becomes available. So you're attacking affordability from every single end. Right now that investors are investing in the US, now you're going to get supply more locally versus tariff supply coming from Canada, for example. Then you have that possibility of them taking a look at those 50 million plus, or the 1.8 million that's already taken place this year in county. That's going to open up a lot of housing supply. So you mix that with possible rate cuts coming up. 2026 is looking good, so I'm very bullish on that.
Yeah, all great points. I think right before you hopped on, Joe and I were just kind of discussing. I think it's not it's not so much where rates are. It's just more the clarity of things, right? People just need some certainty, and like you're even talking about your fix and flip, right? It's just kind of the uncertainty of the market, which way rates may go. So if you kind of had a better understanding of if things are just going to be consistent and stay at this point, then it's easier for you to navigate, right?
Yeah,
Let's
for
just
sure, man.
also just say, let me just quickly say good morning to a lot of the people tuning in. So we got Jeff from York, Pennsylvania tuning in. We got Old Guy REI, Frank tuning in, Flavio, Grandview, Washington. So Flavio is a regular here, and he almost got scammed on Instagram. Hugo, he put here. So you had a someone pretending to be you, I believe. It was Stay Winning something else, and they messaged him to follow and all this. So Flavio messaged me and said, "Hey, how come Hugo is reaching out to me?" And I said, "Be careful, man. I don't think that's Hugo." So just letting you know, someone is pretending to be you out there. We got Big Val, we got Hyder, Kenny, Andy. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, Joe. So just kind of quickly go back to you. Like you're getting into like the clients that are reaching out to you, kind of what they're preparing for, and so for you right now, are you seeing a lot of like purchase applications coming your way?
I mean, it's slow, relatively speaking, from just the people that are wanting to buy primary residences. It's really first time home buyers, people that have life events, downsizing, deaths, divorce, that kind of stuff happening. And then there are some people that are pulling cash out of properties, whether it be rental properties, primary residences, to consolidate debt. But then a lot of investors making moves. I've got quite a few people that are pulling equity out of quadplex and DSCR, and people doing HELOCs on primaries to be able to buy the next thing. So that's just a lot of that type of activity is happening right now. But I'm seeing more sellers than ever get flexible on terms. Not every seller is, but the ones that are, they're desperate, and then the buyers are able to get pretty good deals. It's kind of an
Is
all or nothing kind of a thing that I'm seeing.
is there like maybe a number that you would say you think would um, turn this housing market going upward again as far as demand, as far as applications coming your way? Like, would you say 1% possibly, or half a percent down in interest rates? Is there a certain number that you think would kickstart things?
So I don't want to speculate on what the Fed is going to do. And then also the 10-year Treasury mortgage rates, they're not directly correlated to what the Fed does and their actual Fed fund rates and whatnot. So right now, if somebody was to lock in a 30-year fix, they're going to be in the mid sixes, right? If you've got a 30-year fixed that's in the mid fives with no points, I think that's when you would see quite a few households really start to think, okay, do I want to take my housing payment from X and maybe double or triple it to be able to get the bigger house that I need? I think a point drop in rates would be pretty significant.
Any thoughts of you, Hugo, as far as is there a rate that you think would get you more active on the real estate side or benefit you?
Wait, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
I think
What's
it's
crazy, I've been seeing some investor rates, some DSCR rates on quadplexes in the mid sixes too, and that's got some investors pretty excited. But at the same time, though, it's hard to get the deals to pencil out on price. That's where it's all or nothing. If a seller doesn't get their price, then they're just going to hold it or take it off the market. There's a lot of people. I wish I had the data in front of me, but there's a lot of sellers that have it on market that they're just removing their homes off of the market because they're not getting the price and they're not being flexible, and they're just going to keep on going.
So Nick is tuning in. He's kind of my Bitcoin specialist. He's been on my channel a little more regularly right now. He's also on Zuber's channel also on a regular basis now, but he has a YouTube channel, Lead Prairie Huddle, so please subscribe to that. But he says 5.5 rate opens up the whole housing market. That's his kind of thought on things. And I would have to agree. If it gets to 5.5, definitely, I think you're going to see a lot of activity. And even now, I think you're hearing more just hope, I guess, in a sense. People are getting kind of excited with the thought of rate cuts. Like you said, even though they're not directly related to mortgage rates, I think in people's heads, just hearing rate cuts is giving them thoughts of things are going to get more active, more opportunities out there. So that's what I'm getting the feeling of. So even like I think Hyder mentioned it earlier in the chat. On Dion's live stream yesterday, there was a numerous bunch of people that were talking about closing on deals. So people are still doing the work out there. People are still making it work, but I think a lot of that is investors that have been doing the work and putting in offers that make sense, and sellers are getting nervous, right? They're willing to kind of work with the buyer on things and meet what the buyer wants, right? So, hey, J6 here. It's been a while. I think you've been traveling, so thanks for tuning in. Let's see what else. Okay, so Joel, for you, what do you think is the biggest challenge, you're facing kind of in your business? Do you think it's the high prices, the high rates, or lack of deals? Like, what do you think maybe is your clients giving you an idea of that from that standpoint?
I mean, it's really all of that. I mean, if rates never touched 2.25 back in 2020, 21, and people were at 3.25 or 3.5, 3.75, I think the psychology would be a little bit different than what it was. You have this golden handcuffs kind of situation where if I'm at 2.25, there's no way I'm going to go buy a house that's 50%, 25% higher, and then also at 7% or 6.5%. I mean, your payment's going to go up by triple or quadruple. So people are just stuck, and I think that's the biggest thing that is holding the market back. People are just stuck. So I don't think there's going to be an answer for a while. I think the biggest thing to kind of flip the script is that you've got the growth in businesses slowing down, the investment in businesses slowing down, mergers and acquisitions is slowing down with rates where they are. If the Fed cuts rates, I think Trump said he wants rates down by 200 basis points or even more. Yes, that would help the housing market, but I think that would have a massive impact to the business market, the economy, and businesses investing in themselves to grow, which would help jobs, which would help confidence, which then help open up the housing market inherently as well. So I think, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing is that, like you said before, the signaling rates going down from the business standpoint, I think that would be important for the long term.
Yeah, Nick makes a great point. Lead Prejado says the why the rate is cutting can be the scary part when it's about the labor market and no longer about inflation, right? So I think, like you're saying, that is the part that can be quite concerning out there, is why they're cutting rates, right? And some people, I don't think they understand that, right? They're just seeing cutting rates. They're thinking of it as a positive thing, right? But they don't look at the underlying metrics on why they're possibly going to cut rates, right?
Well, I think that brings up something that I've been thinking about too. This September cut, there's so much anticipation for it cut. If for some reason the Fed pivots slightly and they don't cut, I think it's a massive, could be a massive, cheek in the armor for a massive sell-off in the stock market. I mean, the amount of leverage that retail and institutional traders are using right now is at record highs. I think the S&P is at like 640, and when you look at the tariff sell-off we had in the beginning of the year, I think the S&P hit like 500, so it's already up, 20%, 25% in just 5-6 months. If you see the Fed go the opposite way and not cut rates, I think you're going to see a massive implosion, massive sell-off, which is going to hurt a lot of people, which then inherently would then dictate the Fed to probably cut rates thereafter. So I don't know. Those are some of the things that I think about. Because then if stock market's selling off like that, the people that are retired living off of their 401ks and IRAs are just going to get crushed.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the concerning part out there, right? Is people that maybe plan for a certain way in their retirement, right? I think that's the scary part also for these people that are retired, that were hoping to have a certain amount of income coming in and whatnot, and all this confusion out there, and especially if it's impacting the way that if their I guess their retirement plans aren't keeping up with what the markets are doing as far as cost of living and everything going up and things like that. It's definitely scary for those folks out there, right? Hyder says markets don't like shock, but expectations are a prelude to disappointment also. Yeah, definitely. I also want to touch on, I know you mentioned it earlier, and we're going to talk on this point also, was I think the Cracker Barrel situation too, right? I mean, it's something we can touch on too. I don't know if people out there have seen or paid attention to it, but have you guys been following that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. The power of social media now impacting stock prices, making the blink of an eye.
Joe, you had other thoughts on that too?
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole go woke, go woke, go broke kind of thing. Social media, they pop in, the history behind that logo. And then, yeah, I guess they caved into social media, which, again, I'm not an expert on branding. I'm not an expert on running a restaurant. But when you look at, on the flip side, when you look at what McDonald's has done to their branding and the modernization of their stores and a few other restaurants, when you look at that, and McDonald's stock prices is continued to soar. Um, I can see what they were trying to do, and then when you look at the new brand that they were trying to roll out, it would open the door to more clientele, because I know certain people aren't going to cater to that type of emblem and that type of old school, folksy country type of feel. So maybe they're trying to open up the door to more customers, but then at the same time, is that gonna negate your current clientele and push them away? Kind of the whole Bud Light kind of a thing. So I was joking with Mark that if they really wanted to save the brand, they'd get Sydney Sweeney back on the dial with the new logo and rock and roll. But
Yeah, but Hyder does make a good point. If Cracker Barrel was marketing, they did a pretty good job, but sales would tell. But I want to know, have either of you been to Cracker Barrel? Because I have not been. I've seen it, but I've never actually ate there.
I have
I
not. The
definitely,
closest one is about like an hour away inland from here. I haven't been there, but I've been wanting to go there even before this whole logo fiasco. Is there any out there, Joel?
yeah. Yeah,
How
there's a
would you
few.
how would you describe it then?
Um, it's like a more country type of feel, homesy feel. Take like a Denny's, but then like layer on folksy country homey, feel.
Yeah, so like to Hyder's point, I mean, I think it's interesting marketing if that was the direction they were going with it. Because like I said, I never been there. I think I've never heard really people discussing Cracker Barrel very much, but all of a sudden it's on the front pages, right? So it would be definitely an interesting thing if that was their marketing approach. Harrison Trade Better 99 says, I always thought Cracker Barrels were too dark inside. The food is too much butter and Crisco. Okay, good to know. Hyder says, remember when Bud Light was cool with their "I love you, man" campaign? Yeah,
So
I
their
I love
stock
it.
is up right now. It's up almost 9% today. After yesterday, it was announced that they're going back to the original logo. So
well, that's
just to
Are
wild.
show
they,
I
you
are
the
they
power.
above? Were they before they announced it? Are they back above the break even?
Let's see. It's really close to the new 52-week high. Oh no, I'm sorry, to the new weekly high.
just want to say to hi, Lauren Elaine. Looks like she's on Instagram watching us. She must be done traveling the world or whatever she's up to. I think rafting was the last thing she told us she was going to be doing, Joel. I forget, but
Yeah, good morning to her. Good morning, Hyder, Flavio. I apologize for you almost getting scammed. Yeah, when the people reached out to me about getting scammed, I was like, huh, so you all support me. You all would buy something that I want to sell you. Good to know.
well, Flavio is definitely a big supporter of everyone, so it's easily to kind of take advantage of him. So hope God he didn't get send any money or anything. But
Yeah.
yes,
I
Flavio's
had
just
the same thing happen on my Instagram, because mine is stair step. What is it? Joel Farrell stair step method, and they put a digit off, and people texting me, "Hey man, is this you? Are you messaging me?" No man, that's not me. Block it, report it.
yeah. Hey, Lauren's here now on YouTube. I just messaged her on Instagram, but whenever you're ready to come back on, Lauren, or in between travels, you're welcome back on. But we'll get you back on. But yeah, I know also. Hyder stopped showing up when I was on, so I stopped coming. Now you're just making trouble, Lauren. Um, Let's see. I know, Hugo, I know you didn't have too much time, but I know you also kind of want to touch on the big, beautiful bill and a little bit on that in the news. And maybe is that impacting what you have planned for the future in your investing side, or what's your thoughts on that?
And yeah, speaking about that bill, right? It's my content's all about building that generational wealth. So it's really nice to know that if you have a kid between now and 2028, the government will start a college fund for them with $1,000. So with minor contributions, through a 20-year period, say they go to community college and then they want to transfer out, you're looking at like over 60K with just like $50 every other week. So I like that perk, and I don't even have kids.
Yeah, I think,
I
the
think that's a
one thing
pretty
I want to
pretty neat
say
way to
about
start.
all of this is, and maybe you guys can chime in on it, is do you think the government will ever cut spending? I think that was kind of the push, right? I think that's what everyone's hopes were. And definitely the big beautiful bill has a lot of positives about it, but bottom line is it's not really cutting any spending. And I think that was what a lot of people were hoping. So do you guys have any thoughts on is that ever a possibility, you think?
I mean,
Yeah, for sure, man. Or you
yeah,
want to go ahead? Go first, Joe.
I'll just say simply, I think in reading all the comments, a lot of the comments from the powers that be, I think they needed to get this thing in place to do the things that need to get done to make the changes on various things, like the border or this, that. But I think the codifying some of the Doge cuts and getting rid of some of the NGOs and all the BS of money just flying out the door, going into God knows where, black holes. And if they can actually prosecute some people on some of this stuff and fraud, I think that opens the door to actually cut. If they start putting people in jail on this stuff, I think that opens the door to really have the morale support to actually cut. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with that part, right? So I know a lot of people were complaining because it raises the debt ceiling by 4 trillion, estimate 4 trillion, but that's an estimate over a 10-year period.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those funds are going to strengthen up border security, right? Which, if you think about when border security is all-time low, or border crimes are all-time low, we're saving money on the benefit end. I'm in California. I can confirm illegals get a lot of benefits out here. They got better cars and better rims than the rest of us Americans. They eat better too, 3 times a day compared to like once or twice for us that work, like donkeys out here. So when you look at that, Biden and Harris administration, they increased the budget by 8 trillion in that 4-year period. So we're talking about 4 trillion over a decade period. But like what Joe was saying, all that stuff has to happen first before you start cutting in, right? So when you get the border crossed at all-time low, all those government benefits, you can start making the cuts there because now there's less mouths on those benefits. I think it's a very good thing, man. I'm not mad that it passed. I think it's a lot. It extended the 2017 tax cut, so that's also a positive. That
Yeah.
means that more money in our pocket remains. Being from California, I'll accept any tax cut from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like you guys are both saying, I think that's kind of the bottom line, right? It's kind of, yes, they're spending money, but it's also where is that money being spent and used and how it's being used, right? So even, like when people are eating, for example, you're talking about eating, but you can have 1,000 calories, right? But it's where those calories are coming from or what source it is can make the difference in what those calories are. So same thing with like money, right? You can spend money, but it's where is that money being allocated, right? So all great points there.
Can I ask Hugo a question? So since the beginning of the year, how has driving on highways been in your area in LA? Has it been different in the last 4, 5, 6 months?
Yeah, so I'm in Orange County. I would say maybe 40 minutes out from downtown LA. But the traffic on the 5 freeway is definitely a lot better. So no complaints there, man. Time is money, right? So when you take a look at that, for example, just wear and tear on the car, how much money you're saving. There was a point where the government had to step in and make sure that certain zip codes would have more expensive car insurance because of overpopulation. But yeah, traffic is a lot better. So now I'm saving money on gas. Gas is lower, even with California's gas tax that just passed last month, gas is still lower because of everything that Trump is doing. So
Would you
even with
say
that
that
added
there's like
gas tax,
half as many people on the road than usual? Like, how would you equate the numbers?
at least 30% less of people.
Okay, and why do you think that is?
ICE presence, man, in LA for sure.
So you're talking millions not on the road.
Oh yeah, just in SoCal alone, there's at least 4 million.
Okay.
Like a lot. So
So yeah, so you are in California, and there's a lot of, I guess, stuff in the media that people are talking about California um, being horrible for these specific reasons and whatnot. So you, someone in California, would you say those things are kind of misleading, or would you say they're pretty accurate, or kind of so? Let's just say if Gavin Newsom was running for president, would he get your vote?
no, he would not get my vote, and I don't think anyone in Orange County. He wouldn't win Orange County for sure.
Where did all the money go?
Exactly, right? So we just need to prove that where the money's going. That would strengthen the argument for Doge, which would eventually eliminate the IRS. But realistically, that's looking more for 2026 or 2028 election cycle. Just like when the Democrats promised to forgive student loans, they didn't mention it until the 2-year election cycle. That's when I started talking about it again. So people like me, I'm like, it's not going to happen. It's just talk for election cycle again, and it never happened. But now, if you do want your student loans forgiven, just apply to ICE and they'll forgive your student loans.
Um, Harrison Trey Better 99 says, Hugo, are you still sold on ADA?
Am I sold on ADA?
Yeah. Maybe
ADU?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, man. If you can use that benefit to build something like 800 square feet in your backyard and eventually use it as a rental unit, tax whatever that comes with it, I think it's awesome. So it does provide housing that's needed, but again, there's a lot of housing that's being taken up unnecessarily. But it's going to be a long operation. But I mean, I'm already starting to see the benefits in traffic alone. I'm translating less for people. That's just my experience out here in Cali. But yeah, man. Personally, I don't have any real estate that has a backyard like that, so I can't take advantage of that ADA. But I totally would if I could.
Hyder put a link to a book in here. He says that book, the preparation is geared toward young men, but suitable for anyone with great general principles of life. Hyder also said that debt ceiling can also be considered a cap on collateral for the world to trade with. Treasuries are the world reserve asset used as collateral. There's alternatives, but treasuries are still top dog. There was something, I don't know. I know we've touched on it recently with some of my recent guests. So they're in Seattle, and I think they said this is possibly coming to California. California is probably a few years behind, but Seattle's kind of the leader of this. So they're doing DADUs, like detached ADUs in Seattle. But what they're doing is they're also condoizing the properties or the parcels so that each unit has its own parcel number. So now you're able to sell these units off individually after. So that's how Seattle is addressing the housing and housing affordability and to increase housing. And they said, I don't know if they had a meeting or whatnot, but there's a lot of representatives from different states that came to try to figure out how Seattle is handling the utilities for these types of setups. So there's a lot of places that are possibly heading down this route. And I think they were saying that California is kind of like in that next wave. So if Seattle's in the front, California is probably like a few years behind. So that might be something you want to look into also.
Yeah, that's very good info, man. All they need to do is just speed up the way they hand out permits over here.
So Jim, grumpy contractor who's tuning in today, he'll probably attest to that. So he's working on 3 burrs in California right now. And yeah, he is going crazy. Part of it is labor, but at the same time, it is the permitting process and whatnot. But Harrison Trey Bitter 9 says, sorry, Hugo, I meant Cardano ADA.
Oh yeah. What about Cardano?
I guess that was what
Oh
he
yeah.
meant instead of
Yeah, yeah.
ADA. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still sold on Cardano because it provides the smart contract technology to Bitcoin. So if you understand blockchain, Bitcoin is outdated blockchain, so to speak. So there's many things it can't do. So then you enter Cardano, which is the second layer. So now you can move smart contracts through Bitcoin. Um, so ideally, with Bitcoin OS, it should translate when Bitcoin pumps, ADA pumps. Right now, it's not performing well, not like all altcoins, but it stays in the top 10. So yeah, I'm still holding ADA. I'm still bullish on ADA. So eventually, when more companies start accepting Bitcoin as payment, um, they would go through an ADA handle to receive that payment. So similar to Venmo, where it's like your at or your Cash App, where it's like your handle name, you can do that with Bitcoin now through Cardano. So instead of memorizing a 16-digit, 24-digit wallet address, it would just be at Cracker Barrel, and that's So now you can pay Bitcoin at Cracker Barrel, and that's going to go through Cardano being that layer two blockchain to Bitcoin. No other blockchain is doing that right now with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think you might have been off camera for a little while, but I should get you and Nick on a live stream together. Nick is a very no crypto, but Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin. But he is definitely all in. He went all in. So he's actually in California. So he actually sold some of his real estate and went all in and leveraged that for Bitcoin. So he's doing very well. Yeah, so he's kind of a regular on Zuber's channel now, but he's been on my channel maybe every other week. But he's also trying to grow his social media platform. But yeah, I should get you guys connected, and you'll see him on X. He's putting a lot of stuff on X too, also.
Yeah, for sure. And follow, yeah, I do have the YouTube channel. Marquis will
Uh,
kind of link it again.
yeah. Jim said, I guess California is doing it, the separate APN numbers, but counties are slow to adopt. Um, Flavio, yes, Flavio, I'll give him a break because I know he's busy, but I always tell Flavio he doesn't pay attention. But I'll put your channel in the chat again. But Flavio he has a new project he's undertaking. He did I think he went to an estate sales and he left a offer on a business card, and yeah, so that they reached out to him, and now he has a deal he's working on right now. Hold on, I'll put your channel right there. Um, Hyder says Bitcoin blockchain is secure, not dated in his opinion. He's saying, in my opinion. Um, yeah, okay. Yeah, like I said, we kind of got off topic a little bit, but back to the big beautiful bill and stuff. Hugh, I know that was kind of where you wanted to touch on also too, and you kind of touched already how you're gonna be navigating that and the possibilities you're seeing on that front. Is there anything else with the bill that had you interested?
No, that's the part that stood out to me the most. And then when I was looking at, how much people were complaining it's going to reach the debt ceiling, I'm like, that's an estimated 4 trillion or 3.8 trillion over 10 years versus Biden and Kamala 8 trillion in those 4 years. Um, but yeah, if you're going to have a kid in the next 4 years, I mean, hump on that Trump account. It's a blessing to be able to kick off your kids' college tuition before they turn one. Because the way things are going, it could be like 80K a year for a degree that jobs may not exist for. So maybe we can do that topic next time with AI and the jobs that might take. That way people can start adapting to the market, right? So, you start investing in 3D printing, AI technology, tiny homes, and then you want to start planning for college for things like where jobs are going to be at. Like I'm not going to go send my kid a major in graphic design anymore because I know AI is going to do a much better, faster job without complaining about needing lunch or something. So that's some other things people should think about. It's not just ideally saving for college. It's okay, what's going to be there in 20 years, right?
Yeah. So Joel, you have kids. Can your kids take advantage of that? Is it for newborns only? I forget what the rules are on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I didn't. I forgot
Mine are
what the.
6. They just turned 6, so I'm not sure how that factors in.
Let's see. Hugo, I know Joel was touching on it earlier for like clients or people reaching out to him. I think people kind of, especially newer investors, kind of have been sitting on the sidelines trying to figure things out in a sense. A lot of your community, your YouTube channel, the people that connect with you. Do you think a lot of people were sitting on the sidelines trying to figure how to navigate in the market, or what were they doing out there, you think?
Yeah, man, a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines. They do have the quote unquote down payment for it, but when you're looking at a mortgage payment that's $5,000 to $8,000, that's what scares them away. Um, but it's like a double-edged sword, right? You can get it now, or you can get it when rates drop to 5.5, and now you're competing with 8 million more people,
Hmm.
which means if the deportations don't keep up, that's still more demand than housing available. So technically that would shoot prices up even more. Um, but yeah, man, it's scary out there. Some markets are up 60% from 5 years ago. So, I mean, for those that bought, and it's crazy to think, man, we had rates at 2.65%, and then some people voted the other way and got 7% rates, and now they're complaining. I'm like, we had it good. You were just hating on the wrong things. Like, you played yourself. I really can't be sad about that, but I'll keep making content to help people buy a home. I talk to Joe, check in once in a while, make sure there's like 0% down programs, or programs where there's down payment assistance or 0% financing for the first 3 years to help people, get a mortgage. I do provide coaching, and a lot of times it turns out that they're closer than what they think. A lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about how much time you need at your job, how much money you need saved up. So there is still hope, but yeah, a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines. So 5.5 should bring in about 8 million more people to the market. And maybe that number becomes where millennials are the number one shopper now versus boomers. So it's kind of sad when you think about like, the family being, the center of like a great society, right? And you have 75-year-olds buying more houses than 35-year-olds. So for the benefit of the nation is going forward, we need to flip that number around pretty soon.
This is a great point Hyder brings up too. I think he brings up AI. You were talking about AI, right? But like the big beautiful bill, for example, right? I'm sure a lot of people are not gonna read through the whole thing, right, and see what it actually entails. But with AI, you could throw it in there and be like, hey, give me a summary or breakdown and give you a better understanding of it. So I think that's one way how AI is going to help a lot of people and maybe hold politicians a little more accountable or see what they're throwing in these bills instead of kind of letting it sneak by in a sense. But Hyder said, I don't trust AI. I have to proofread and verify all info. So yeah, that'll take a while. But Flavio says, Hugo, you should do an audio book with that voice. And I don't know if Big Val is, I don't know sure if he's still here, but
Thank you, appreciate it.
Val has a great voice also. But yeah, man, you
Um,
should get into audio books.
yeah, thanks. For those that don't know, you can actually go on Amazon and you can upload your own audiobooks because they have the self-publishing, textbooks, but you can also do your own audiobooks, upload it, and make money that way for anyone that's looking at an additional stream of income. Because we know the name of the game is multiple streams of income, which brings up the other topic about going back to rates, right? Where in the 80s, you saw 13% rates. And, Gen X, no offense, Mark, said, hey, it was harder back then. But I like to remind people that that was still one household incomes that were buying homes. It was less than 50% of women were employed back then versus over 75% now. And even though there's that much more double, dual income households, they're still priced out. But unlike other people, I don't blame the boomers for any of that. I think we're responsible for our own actions. I decided if I want to buy $5 Coca-Cola today or buy $5 in stock of Coca-Cola today. That's my decision, right? If I wasn't buying Bitcoin 10 years ago, that was my decision, whatever the result is. So I think society has forgotten a lot about accountability and the power of decisions and waiting for people to make moves for them. But
Can I throw one little bitty wrench in that?
Yeah, go for it.
And this is just a micro example, but I just saw a video from 2019, and I forget the analyst that was talking pro Bitcoin, but the interviewer, the guy was saying, hey, Bitcoin, it's an asset class that investors should put maybe 1% of their portfolio in. And the interviewer, she was saying, oh, come on, 1%, you're just going to throw your money away. He's like, well, I think it's okay to put 1% of your portfolio into an asset class that, yeah, maybe you'll lose money short term, but long term, it's probably going to go up. And just the media in general hasn't done a great service to the general public with some of these things. For example, Bitcoin. So just an example that we have to use our own minds and do our own research, which I think is what you're hinting at as well.
Yeah, well said, man. Yeah, the media definitely hasn't been the people's friend, and they've definitely been suppressing the success of Bitcoin. But the backside of that is that gives us more opportunity to accumulate more at a lower price. But just imagine 10 years from now, when it's 7 figures, we'd be wishing we bought more today.
To what Joe just touched on, I think, and Hugo, you talking about, housing and Gen X and whatnot. But Hyder does bring up a good point, and that was actually what I was going to head into next. Because I just reposted something on X this morning. It was talking about the median age of first-time homeowners is now 38 years old, an all-time high. In the 1980s, first-time buyer was in their late 20s. And Hyder does mention, I'm not sure if families are priced out or if they spend themselves out of range buying stupid shit. And I was going to kind of mention that because I feel like if I think about it, I don't know a lot of families. Well, maybe this I'm speaking a small bubble in a sense, but that traveled that often, at a younger. My parents, for example, and whatnot, weren't traveling a lot, and I don't recall having all these big screen TVs in the home and whatnot, and everyone didn't have an iPhone or a phone device, right? So nowadays, you look at it, right? I mean, I see the younger generation every chance they have, right? They're traveling an experience, right? Or the household has every person has their own phone now. There's a flat screen TV in every single room, or the homes are bigger, so it's kind of like yes, things are housing price has gotten higher, but at the same time, I think the younger generation is also home ownership is not as important. Seems like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think about that?
Mark, question for you. How old were you when you moved out of your parents' house?
I was early for Hawaii, maybe, but would be late for probably the rest of the world or rest of the US. Shoot, I was what, 30, maybe 30. But that's also why I was able to have a down payment for like a condo and everything, right? With the high housing prices here. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing a lot of that younger generation staying with their parents longer. They don't have a need for homeownership. They're okay throwing $2,500 in rent to keep up with the Joneses, and they don't have the belief that they can buy a house. They don't believe they can, so they're not even gonna go on the trajectory to save the money to do it. They're okay just having the money go elsewhere. That's what I'm seeing a lot of them in my world.
Sorry, I was just putting Hyder's. Oh, there, he put it also. Shoots. I put Hyder's YouTube channel. I know he started a second one, but I don't know if I have that one. But he was just in Alaska also, so he's been a little busy. But we do have someone tuning in. Oh, we have Steve, Barefoot Travels and Wine, accidental landlord, tuning in. So good morning, Steve. He's in the school community with us. I believe he's under contract for something, if I'm not mistaken. But we have someone I believe is coming from Joel's channel, Michael St. John. He thinks, I guess in general, he's saying, I think it's confusing by design. And yeah, do you guys agree with that as far as maybe the economy or what the markets are doing, and they just want you confused? Hugo, you have any thoughts on that?
Repeat the question again, Mark.
Where did it go? Michael St. John is saying, I think it is confusing by design. So do you think that's what they want? the economy just being confusing, so the everyday folks have a hard time navigating themselves.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's no accident that it's confusing like that. We touched on the media. You have TV shows where people move to big cities like New York and they get a job as like a barista and they're living okay. And in reality, that's not the case. You can't move to New York and be a barista and afford to live. Like that's so there's a huge misconception about that. I see that when people move to LA all the time, like, oh, we're going to LA, it's so beautiful. And then disappointed with how dirty and trashy it is and how unaffordable it is. But TV shows a different picture. TV shows you can move to a big city and grab any minimum wage job and you'll be okay. But those days are over, man. Um, so yeah, a lot of people just give up from what I see. And that's why I always say it's so much easier to win out there because half the competition isn't even in the game anymore.
Yeah. And like from a construction standpoint, residential single family homes construction is down historically, but on the flip side, apartment complex construction is pretty much at all-time highs. So the money is flowing that direction to back it up.
I'm trying to. So Michael St. John, who mentioned the question about confusion, he also says rent is a trap for people making less than 55K. So, trying to wrap my head around that. So where would that individual live, I guess, or what?
I just think that what he's trying to say is that, it's if you're making 55K and below, it's going to be hard to save money. So regardless of, the plan, because like when you were age 30, Mark, you said you were staying in your parents' home and saving money to go buy a house. I think what he's getting at is that person at 55 doesn't believe it's possible. They're not going to sacrifice today to save extra money to buy that entry level house. They're just going to be okay with renting and be okay with that for the long term because they don't believe it's possible.
Yeah, so that's exactly, I think, what Hugo's saying too, right? It's easy to win out there. There's a lot of opportunities, so you have to be able to be around people like this. The community is people telling you that it can be done, right? So, like he's saying, if someone is making less than 55K and they think they don't have a chance to buy a home in the future, and like you're saying, yeah, they're going to rent and maybe not save or invest the rest or the difference, then yeah, absolutely, then they're never going to be able to take advantage, right? But like Hugo was saying, if you're around winners or people that are doing it, even if you're making 55K, yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder possibly. Well, but that's where it's going to be that sacrifice. And like, I think Harrison mentions also in here too, like for his family, they've never traveled to Disney World, right? They're going to go camping and do hiking or do these other vacations where it's not going to be spending a lot of money, right? So there's definitely that mindset where it's going to be a struggle for a little while and sacrifices, but you're doing it so that you're not working in your 70s in a sense, right?
You know what? That kind of reminds me of what you mentioned earlier about what else I like about the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I'm glad we have Joel on here to see what his thoughts are on that. So there are no longer tax on tips, right? That's another thing that happened with the One Big Beautiful Bill. So Joel, is it possible? So let's say that person's making 55K a year, and they go get a second job as a server to make 75K a year, right? So now a few states become affordable. Are they able to tip themselves more? Say they buy lunch every time there's a shift. They tip themselves from their regular account, so it goes onto the receipt of their second job. So now their income goes on paper from 75 to 85. I know it's brand new, but in my head, that's feasible. So when I report income, I'm reporting that I made 85 because I'm tipping myself, for example, every time I buy lunch on my shift, right? So let's say I make, 20K, but I'm tipping myself to make it 30K. And there's no tax on tips. Like, is that technically possible? I'm just moving money from one account to another.
Why you wanted to do that? I mean, I think could make logistical sense.
Right? Okay.
As long as there's a
So
paper
I'm always
trail
about
on
finding
your
solutions on my
W-2
channel
or
for
basic.
people.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting too is that we talk about variable income for overtime and commissions or tips. Typically, as a lender, we want to see a 2-year history. But my company and a lot of other companies are getting more flexible of not needing to have the full 2 years and maybe doing your current balance. Let's just say you've been doing it for 16 months, not a full 2 years, taking that over a 24-month average, and then using that for qualifying income. Because I have a lot of people in that place that they've had a second job, but not for a full 2 years, and we're able to use the income. So, and then also if you're not taxed, like for example, Social Security that's not taxed, or VA benefits that are not taxed, I can actually gross it up by a certain percentage for extra qualifying income. So there's some different angles of that are positive.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we brought that up because I know Mark asked what else I like about the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I was just turning it creative. You know, when you've been on my channel, Joel, creative ways that people may not think can speed through the process of home ownership. So like if I have a server shift and I made $100 that day, but then I buy myself food to take home and I tip myself $100. On paper, I made $200 that day, even though that $100 is coming from my account. But I think for mortgage purposes, on paper, it shows you're making $200 a day versus $100 a day, and now you're increasing your purchasing power. So thank you for bringing that up on the 55K, Michael St. John. It's just me trying to get creative, and I'm glad we can run that by Joel. So now you're technically laundering yourself money, but it's for the
Don't
purpose
get
of
my channel in trouble. We're not promoting laundering money here.
Because you strategically move like the Democrat Party to make yourself inflate on paper.
Well,
so just something, you know, I'm glad you can put your 2 cents on that, Joe, for anyone listening.
well, so
You know,
even
something
to
get
Hyder's
creative
point,
about.
yeah, even to Hyder. So is gratuity considered a tip? I would make the bill $1 with X gratuity to be as tax free as possible, right? So I think I like to Hugo. I think a lot of people are gonna be trying to get creative with this and see how like I said, people can take advantage, right? In a sense. And Michael St. John says, "Tell us more." Well, go to Joel's channel. Yeah, stay on Joel's channel, and you can make those comments over there. Hyder said, "Not laundering, just accounting magic." Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely. This is all just like you said. That I think that's what it is, right? It's just being creative and figuring out what you can and cannot do, and navigating it that way, right? And it's just like they said. I mean, it's pretty much taking advantage of what they're giving you in a sense, right? And you being creative as possible. But Flavio says in my area, so he's in Grandview, Washington. He says hundreds of apartments are getting built, more affordable than a house. I think that's going to probably right. That's probably going to be the biggest thing to help with housing affordability is more building, right? More supply.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see what else we got.
Yeah, so now you know, Michael. So you're making 55K. It's accounting magic. That way you can increase your purchasing power.
Yep. So he says, keep an eye on that tax bracket. Michael St. John says.
Well, for Hugo, you mentioned multiple streams of income. So would you be able to outline some of the things that you have? So you mentioned YouTube, you've got your X monetized, you have your day job, you've got flips. What are some of the things that you've monetized, along the way, small or large?
Oh yeah, man. I was thinking about actually making a video of all my streams of income. So yeah, my primary job where I'm at right now, sitting down, hence why the lights are off. Fixing flips is another rental income. YouTube, I was making money off X. I'll probably go back to making money on X as well. Yeah, thanks, Hyder. Affiliate links, sometimes they're really good. One affiliate link click can pay $150. I just got offered my first ad spot on YouTube. So it'll be about $250 every time I make a video about them. So I'm like, wow, if I could just get like 10 of those guys, that'll be set. I personally did pick up a second job as a server, taking advantage of the no tax on tips. And it's going pretty well. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I monetize anything I can on the internet, man. Now with the pro crypto president, crypto has been turning up. So staking NFTs now, it pays you dividends. So it will be the equivalent of holding like a high yield dividend share and it paying you weekly. So you can still do that with NFTs now. So now that the market is pumping a little bit, it's not worth you staking your NFT and making 20 to 30 bucks a week on it, in Cardano or in Solana, whatever crypto it is. But yeah, rental income, that's another one. And I do offer coaching services through my social medias. Hopefully, I can start selling templates now for resumes because I know we're in the toughest job market was last year. Too early to count this year. But that might be something that people can benefit from, just buying a $5 resume template. Maybe I can monetize that in the near future.
Good stuff, man.
Another person we also kind of follow, Hyder mentions, is Simon, the uneducated economist. So he's someone that's proof, right? He works in the lumber yard, or he records from his car, and he has 150,000, maybe 160,000 subscribers now on YouTube. And yeah, he affiliate links, monetize on YouTube. So he's definitely an example of how there's a lot of opportunities out there, right? And you
Wait,
just
who
gotta
has 150,000 subscribers?
uneducated economist. You don't know who that is, Joel? No.
Okay.
Simon. Yeah, he just he records in his car. He has his fuzzy dice hanging from the rearview mirror, and yeah, he's
Yeah, that's what I mean, man. There's no excuses to not be making money from the internet. All of us need 8 hours of sleep so our testosterone can keep pumping, but the internet doesn't need sleep. We all need to drive somewhere, right? So if you look at Simon's channel, there's really no effort when it comes to editing. It's all about the information. And there's certain people that are attracted to that content. Same with Zuper and your channel, Mark. It's just about finding those people and eventually getting paid for saying what's on your mind while you drive.
Yeah, I'm gonna get like money laundering people tuning in now after this.
It's called creative accounting.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been going for about an hour. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to touch on, or wrap things up with, or I know Joe off camera we talked about it, but Hugo, is there any chance you're going to be in Vegas for the One Rent at a Time event in February?
Yeah, that's the goal, man. I do plan on being there, even though I'm not there for the event. I'll be there for dinner and partying with you guys afterwards.
Yeah, and I think Jen's gonna plan something. The Backstreet Boys are performing that weekend in Vegas, so I think she's trying to round up a group of people to attend that event. But Joel, like I said, you better get your tickets soon before the Sub 2 community finds out about it, because hearing Pace Morby speak for $300, I think, is a steal. So I think those tickets are gonna sell quickly. Yeah, man. Hugo, let's get you back on soon. Let's not wait so long again, man. We'll do
Yeah,
this
man.
again.
I'm glad we could do this. Maybe the topic for next time will be, outlook on the job market based on the rise of AI.
Yeah.
And maybe we can provide the audience some creative jobs out there that we provided them with creative accounting today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll get something set up. Cool, man. It was fun catching up with you. So we'll do it again. So yeah, any final words from you guys?
Thanks for people that tuned in, man. And yeah, that wasn't me messaging you guys on Instagram, but thank you for the support. I hope to see you guys on my channel as well. And thank you, Mark, for having me. Joel, great talking to you again. And I hope we can do it again soon, guys. Stay winning. God bless.
Joe, any final words?
Yeah, my thing, kind of back to the income streams. If you have something that you're working on or already working on that's generating extra income, please reach out to me. Those are some of the things that I want to be able to share on my platform. So if you have extra income streams or a side business you're working on, let me know. It's something I want to share on my channel.
I'm gonna throw this out there one more time, Joe. I don't even know. Did you start your thing?
No, I did not.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's
Well,
more of a bandwidth.
are you planning to do it still yet? Or no, not at all already?
I'm planning on doing it.
Okay.
I just don't know when. Just capacity wise, I don't have the bandwidth right now.
All right, we'll wrap it up with Hyder's joke then, and then we'll see everyone. I'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be a good one. Tomorrow I'll be here 11 a.m. Eastern again. I'll have Cody Davis and Justin Cambra on. So two really, really successful investors in their markets and in their niche, but they've kind of pivoted from what they originally started with. So Justin wanted to pick Cody's brain kind of about why he's pivoting and getting out of a lot of his partnerships. But yeah, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'll have Cody and Justin on tomorrow. But Hyder's joke is, it's an accounting joke. It says, guys applying for a job get asked a math question. Guy that gets the job answers, what do you want it to equal? So that will wrap it up with that. And I'll see everyone tomorrow.